now we are live. Yeah, I think we're live. I think people are joining in, right?
Yeah, we're live now.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so I think we can begin. So good afternoon to one and all. This is Architect Tanushree Swami, and I welcome you all to yet another episode of our OSNAP Live series. And today we have three very dynamic and talented speakers on board: Architect Tarun Suresh, Architect Samriddha Pal, and Architect Tanmay Goraksha. And they also happen to be tutors at Lomos Archilabs.
Hi everyone. Hi.
Hello everyone.
Hey, everybody.
So today we will be discussing about two very important stages in an architecture student's life: internships and thesis. We will be talking right from the selection of firms to what all is required while applying for an internship, like portfolios and offer letter, cover letters, etc. And we will also be sharing a couple of tips and tricks, our own personal experience as to how to go about in the same. So I think Tanmay, you can go ahead and start with the internship segment.
Yeah. So first of all, hello everyone. This is Tanmay. So basically, I think people, lack the information about internship. What actually an internship is, and for what purpose an internship has been required. So for me, internship is serving at a place for 6 months and for a duration of 6 months or 1 year. Now, internship we can call it as a training period for us, where we get to know how actually the office works, and we get to know how an office environment works. Then we get to interact with the clients, we get to interact with the workers, and we also get to interact with the vendors. So basically, internship is seeing your life once you become an architect. So choosing an office is very important for us because internship is just one thing that's going to come once in your whole lifetime. What do you think, Tarun, Samrita?
So yeah, we feel like at least I think that internships play a pretty huge role when you're going into your design, kind of exploring the design field or kind of getting into the career field of architecture. And internships are basically where it's going to be your first stepping stone into that actual field. You get an idea of how exactly the office life is. And because of that aspect, it's going to be a huge transition from your office, from college to your office situation. Right, so that transition and jumping into the career field is very important. So it plays a huge role when it comes to an architecture student's career field.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And when the transition happens, for me, it was like so dynamic. I felt like last 3 years in college, I did not learn anything. And the moment I went to internship, that 6 months, it's like I learned everything. I felt, what did I start from zero? So it was sort of like that in my case when I started my internship, and it was a good experience. So yeah.
So guys, there are some points, which we should consider whenever we apply for an internship. So first of all, everyone has some basic interest in their life. So I have an interest, I like photography, I like traveling, I like going to different kinds of places. So everyone has some kind of a interest in their life. So there are some things we should consider. The first thing, which is, knowing your interest. Now here we have something called as a Venn diagram, where I have just created a Venn diagram using skills, interest, and opportunity. Now everyone has an interest. Now I had an interest for moving to different cities. Then I had an interest of photography. So I also, searched for a firm which will allow me to also develop my interest as well, doing the same things. Then since my first year, I had a skill of doing software modeling. Okay, so I had a good hand into softwares. Then afterwards, I had a good hand into designing. Then I had a good hand into concept development. So that were my skills. So I was searching for a firm where I can accommodate my skills as well as my interest and as well as wherever I'm getting the opportunity. So first of all, I wanted a place where I can survive for 6 months. The major thing is I can see that I had some friends into my life. Okay, so they just applied for a firm and they didn't knew anything about the firm. So they went there for an internship, and just within 1 month they left the internship and they came back. And they told that the firm was not good. I actually didn't know what to do over there. There was no one to talk over there. I was feeling very bad. So first of all, guys, you have to research about the firm. You have to know about the firm, how exactly you're going to survive over there. So if you have some keen interest into some things and if you have your skills ready, so yeah, you can combine both of them and you can take that and then you can work into any kind of a firm. Then the second thing which I want to mention over here, that is understanding your style. Now, since your first year till your third year or fourth year, for when you're going to apply for an internship, everyone develops one style of their own. Now, we can say I am a person who actually, like modern structures. I like something that is very minimal. So I like minimalistic architecture. Then I like sustainable architecture. So this is the style which I developed into my first year, second year, and third year. So I got to know the basic information that, okay, I have to go in a firm where I can develop something that is modern, where I can develop something that is sustainable, and I can develop something that is minimalistic. So I know that, okay, I do not want to go into vernacular. I do not want to go into affordable housing kind of a thing. I just wanted to go in any kind of a firm where my style has been taken forward. Why? Because, guys, now we can say I like minimalistic architecture and I want to pursue this thing when I also graduate. Once I graduate, I want to take the style forward and then I want to implement that when I do my practical, work into my life. Also, I want to work with a firm which is doing sustainable designs so that I get to know the basic knowledge from that firm and later on I can implement that. So if everyone has any basic style, you can take that style forward into your life. So for that, choosing the right firm for an internship is very important because your internship can guide you and will help you to take your standards above whatever level you're having right now.
Yeah, I feel like that is a very important point, like especially when you have your style. But at the same time, it's important to have your defined style. That is very true. But at the same time, you should also be open into, accepting other styles as well, because you never know what you're able to learn from other styles as well. So once you get or try and innovate in certain other styles, you probably learn something a bit more, which, the particular style that you're in, maybe you could apply the same thing in that. Or if it's something completely different, you get an understanding of that as well. So that later on in your life, if by any chance you have to deal with something similar to that aspect, you will have some kind of prior knowledge with it. So be open with respect to any other style that is also there, right? Keep yourself open because your internship is essentially where you get to learn a lot. So learning is the primary importance. So make sure that you try and work with all the different styles that are there.
Exactly, that can also happen. Now, guys, one thing after that is this. I consider this as the very major point. That is communication. Like we have to communicate with our members, we can communicate with our faculties, we can communicate with our seniors. Now, faculties and senior guys, these play a big role into your internship part. Like the further process, like the process where you actually have to apply, that time your faculties and your senior members can help you a lot. Because senior members are some people who have actually been through the same process which you are into right now. Because once you interact with the seniors will guide you. They will give you the basic information about the firm. Okay, not even about the firm. We can also say that they can tell you what is the actual work that an intern has to be doing into a firm into the 6 months of a duration or a 1 month of like a 1 year of a duration. So seniors will guide you, seniors will tell you, and seniors have experienced the same thing, guys. Now imagine I have experienced the same thing. That is the reason I'm able to tell you all of these things, right? I experienced the same thing. I got to know some things which were lagging into me. I just got to know some things which I also did not have any kind of information about. My seniors guided me into that. So communicating with your seniors, and the second thing, communicating with your faculties. Guys, your faculty members has a lot of connections. Your faculty members has a lot of knowledge as well. So once you have your interest, once you have your skill developed, you can ask your faculty that, okay, sir, I have this kind of an approach. I want to approach to this firm. Can you just tell me, is there any specific method? Is there any specific, information which you can get to me so that I can directly go and apply to that firm. So faculty members and seniors will, keep you informed what is happening all around your world. Because, guys, once you're into your first year, second year, third year, you do not know actually what is going into the practical life. But once you enter your third year and a half, your fourth year and a half, I think interacting with the seniors will help you a lot. And they will guide you exactly, and they will give you information that, okay, this happens, like this happens right now into this firm. This is happening into this firm. You can apply into this firm. I have someone who works into this firm. So working with seniors and faculties will help you a lot, guys.
So I think we have a question that we can take at this point. There's a question they've asked us: should we do internship after or before thesis?
Okay, so now I'm sure like people will come across different scenarios. The first thing is your academics, like how your university has basically scheduled your academics. So some people, like some of us here, have done their thesis after internship. Some of us here have done their thesis before internship. There are pros and cons in both the scenarios. One good thing is that I felt like being one of those people who has done thesis after internship is that my designs that I did in my thesis, I had a good understanding of that, like be it structural or be it any other things, because I know what happens in real life. Okay, how if a building needs to stand, how does it needs to stand? How will it stand? I understood that from my internship. Now, 6 months internship again, if you think about it, like if you do your thesis, if you do your thesis first and then you have a 1 year internship, in that case, I feel the 1 year duration is actually a lot. It's actually quite good for an internship. I did 6 months internship. Okay, so I felt like maybe if it would have been a little more, like if I would have got a 1 year chance, I would have learned a lot more. Like my site visits and all happened, but I felt it would have been better if I would have got 1 year. So both of them have their own pros and cons. If you do have a choice, I would suggest maybe do your internship before thesis because that will help. Okay, but it will totally depend upon your academic scenario, like what the university have provided mainly, right? So I think that's pretty much what I have to add here.
I mean, at the same time, you also do have, the situations where your thesis comes after, before your internship, right? So that helps even sometimes in your future situations. Like once you're done with your internships, what happens is they may tend to take you on moving forward as the junior architect. So that also plays like a huge role when it comes to moving forward in the career as well. So again, we don't really have a say as to what we choose. Like we can't decide like, we'll have our thesis first and then we'll do our internship, or we'll do our internship first and then it'll be thesis, because that'll be too chaotic. So like Samvita mentioned, the universities tend to make that decision, and then we kind of just make sure that we take advantage of whatever situation that we are put in.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now we'll move forward. So guys, interacting with the seniors and faculties will also help you a lot. Now, how do we approach firms? Like, how do we, first of all, get to know that there are some firms through which we can apply? So, guys, you have to, first of all, research about the firm. Now, you can research through different ways. Now, you can research through your Google, you can research through your LinkedIn, through your Facebook, through your social media, newspapers, and Behance. Now, if I want to apply to a firm, the way which I told you guys, now I had a style and I wanted to take that style forward. So I just searched for some websites. I just searched for the firm's name and then I went to the websites over there. So onto the websites through Google, I can understand exactly what are the firms and what are the firms' work. So once you see the firm's work, you can automatically understand that, okay, this is the firm which is carrying the style which I am having right now. Later on, you can go to your LinkedIn profile. Onto the LinkedIn profile, you can see there are a number of employees over there. Second thing which you can do over there is you can connect with the employees personally. You can ask the employees that how is the office atmosphere, how much is the working hours, how many members are there into the office working right now, what is the work that an intern has to be done. Then later afterwards, we can also say that connecting with Instagram, you can see how much work is the company doing right now. So you get to know the workload, what is happening with the firm. Also later on, you can just go to the Facebook page and you can see number of followers over there. Also, people give a lot of reviews about the firm on the Google reviews and also on Facebook. So also through the reviews, you get to understand that, okay, this firm is having this kind of a thing. So you also get to understand about the employees over there. You also get to understand about the boss who is leading the whole company, leading the whole firm. So you have to do a lot of research even before applying to a firm. So I'll share my experience, guys. What happened, I applied to a firm and I was totally new about the firm. I didn't knew anything about the firm. So I went to the Instagram page of the firm where there were some stories been uploaded of the firms. So there, into the stories of there, I could see there are different people tagged over there. And the stories were 3 years old, 4 years old. So every year I just selected one person to whom I felt comfortable that I can connect with them. So I text them personally on Instagram. I asked them about the firm. So I did this for 4 years of people. So every 1 year gap, I just text every single person like how actually the firm is. So I got the information about the firm, and later on I was very confident. Okay, this is the firm actually which can carry forward my style, and I could also work over here. So this way, research will help you a lot to give you a basic information about the firm.
So I would like to add in something here, like based on your research, like why it is actually that important. So like the previous topic that Tanmay had covered saying communication, right? So in communication part, like he mentioned about seniors, okay. I come from a college where I like our batch was the second most batch. We didn't really have a lot of seniors. So in that case, we didn't really get any insights from our seniors in terms of internship. I'm sure some of you who are connected, okay, would be facing some similar issues. So in that case, this research part comes in. Okay, like when communication doesn't work, and if you feel that your college is a new college, first thing you should do is make sure that you make contacts with other colleges. Okay, so I finished my bachelor's from Bangalore, and whichever college I was in, it was one of the newest colleges. But I made sure that I made friends from other colleges. So I had 2 3 close friends who told me like how their college is helping them in making portfolio. I took their help. Okay, and I understood where they're applying and how this applying thing works, and that actually helped me. And yeah, one of our teachers actually did help us. So she shared a list of firms with us, okay, where she had applied, and she told us the specification of those firms. Okay, and that actually helped us. So maybe you should contact your, like, even if you don't have your seniors to guide you, you should definitely go to your professors, because they are working right now. Okay, so they will definitely have an idea about it, like Tanmay said.
Exactly. So I guess you have to keep this in mind. And yeah, research matters a lot, because I have seen a lot of people going into a firm, working for at least just one day and coming back and telling that, okay, I do not like the firm. I was there like I have some friends who work into a firm and they were like, it feels like a hospital. It feels like a hospital that there is no one to even talk to them, and they just have to sit on one place every day. They have to submit their phones into the lockers. They have to join at 9. They have to leave at 6. So it is a whole corporate kind of a thing. So yes, you have to know about the firm even before you apply to them. So that is the thing which you always have to consider. Now, after this, guys, we have the last thing, that is the portfolio, CV, cover letter, or we can call this as customized email. Now, if you have a look, guys, we can say managing your package. Okay, so we have to make a package over here. So this package has to be applied to every single firm. So we have a weightage of 80% weightage should be given to the portfolio, 10% weightage should be given to the CV, and then 10% weightage should be given to the cover letter. So what actually things should be covered up into your portfolio? Now we consider portfolio as 80%. So what all are the things that we should keep into the portfolio? So guys, there are very less things that we have to keep inside a portfolio. Now, what do we need inside a portfolio? We need inside a portfolio some basic projects which you guys have worked from your first year till your fourth year. Then we can say you guys need to have a design process. Like what is your process of designing? Then you can show your concepts into that. Then you can show some plannings, and then the final output. Now there'll be firms who do not even see some all the things. They just see the final output over there. But that is also fine, guys. What matters over here inside the portfolio is the content, and the content is very simple. They just need to understand that, okay, is the person able to design? Once you have the ability to design, so firm will hire you for that. Now there are firms which hire you for different kinds of things. Now people just hire for doing 3D modeling. If you have an interest of that, you can go for that. People like hand modeling inside that. So you can keep that things inside the portfolio. So people will hire you for hand modelings and stuff. So you have to identify your forte, and that thing you have to, depict inside your portfolio. So portfolio, I can say, standouts, and it gives you your personality inside your portfolio. So you should depict and you should show your personality from your portfolio instead. And afterwards, we have something called as CV. Now here, I'd like to give you a very good advice over here. Whenever you apply to any kind of a firm, Now, what a lot of architecture students do here is that they make a portfolio, and inside the portfolio, they even keep their CV and they just submit it. But what I prefer over here is, if you have a portfolio, let the CV be inside the portfolio, but also do one thing, okay? Like separately put a CV as an attachment and also mail it to the firm. So what will happen, guys, whenever there is a firm getting an email from your state, and whenever they open it, they can see there are different kinds of attachments over there, and they can also see an attachment of a CV over there. So what they'll do, if you're having a portfolio of around 30 pages, so what a person will think that, okay, this is kind of huge, let's look at this after some kind of a time, because there'll be hundred of people who every day will be applying to the same form which you are also applying. But sending a document separately will make them download it separately, and it is just one single page. So let it be an HR, let it be an recruiter, they'll just try to open it up, and they think that, okay, there was one person who actually sent a CV differently, so maybe I can have a look to that. So just make sure, instead of putting it into the portfolio, you can also put it into the portfolio, no problem. But sending it differently will help you a lot. And guys, you have to stand out from a crowd. Okay, you have to stand out from a crowd of 100 people. Now, not even 100. Now, you guys know, if you're applying to a good firm, there are a lot of candidates waiting over there. So now you have to think some ways that you stand out from that crowd. So how does the HR think that, okay, this is the person who is something different from the rest people? So you have to find out ways where you get into the position, you get an emphasis point that someone can, hire you that way. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, so I do feel like it's very important, of course, to keep your cover, your CV outside. The primary reason being the HR for the particular company doesn't necessarily have to be an architect. So what happens is, a lot of the times what they do is they'll see your email that you have sent for application, and they'll see that you have a portfolio, and you usually attach it as a portfolio. So what the HR would think at that point is, this is something that the architect is going to see. It's not something of my concern, right? So a lot of times adding that CV on the side separately would give you a better understanding. The HR themselves would run into it, and they'll be looking at the details that you have put in that particular CV. So that gives you a slightly added bonus when it comes to actually convincing the person to take you, because at that point, if the HR also feels like there is something strong defined in your CV, they can let the architect know as well. So that gives you a slight boost again. So making sure that your CV is located separately as well would help you in those kind of situations where, it'll help you with HRs who may not be in the same field that we are in.
Exactly. So guys, you have to keep this point into consideration, because you have to stand out from a lot of candidates over there. Now, guys, after this, we have something called as cover letter, or we can also see this as customized email. Now, customized email, I can say, imagine a firm, which is a very good firm, which is having, around 100, 200 applications every single day. Now, I have seen people who just have a single email written over there, and inside the single email written over there, what they do over there is, into the same email, they just copy paste all the firm's email address, and they send that one single mail to every single firm like that. Now, guys, think like this, right? You are the person who want to work into a firm. Exactly. You want to work into a firm, and the firm should hire you. Now, imagine how the firm will think that, okay, this is a guy who's sending the same application to hundreds and hundreds of firms. Do you think they will hire you for that? So here, guys, what you have to do over here is you have to show some interest. Now, what actually interest means over here? Now, I have seen people who actually have a desire to work into a very specific kind of a firm. What you have to do over here, you have to just type in a specific customized email to the firm, where you can tell the firm that, hello, I am this kind of a person, I'm from this college, I actually admire your work from 3 years, 4 years, I'm actually looking for your projects, I actually am inspired by this project of yours, and I feel that, okay, I can somewhere take your design forward during my internship period, because this is actually my forte, I really like your style, and I want to accommodate into your firm. So please, in that way, you can talk to them. So once a person reads this, okay, guys, everyone opens an email. Okay, everyone opens an email. And if you can see someone writing this kind of a thing, so a person can remember you that, okay, this person really knows about our firm. He is following our project. He actually knows about the inspiration and idea which we have implemented into our designs. So guys, this is a very good point for us to stand out from a lot of people over there. Instead of sending one mail to everyone, and instead of sending the same mail to hundreds and hundreds of firms, what you guys can do, you can just go, you can sort out around 10, 15 firms, which you really want to work upon, which matches your style, which matches your interest, and also which matches your location. You also guys would be, wanting to go to some specific location. So you can categorize that. Afterwards, whatever firm you're liking, make a customized email, tell the firm, I really want to work because I like this project and I want to take this project ahead, something like that you can talk about. So the firm will think that, okay, this guy is really, really wanting to work with me, really wanting to work with our firm. And that gives you around 10-15% a higher chance than rest different person who are there into the category over there. So this is one thing which I really, consider while sending any application to any different kind of a firm.
Yeah. Actually, you answered one of the questions that we had in the comment section. They were asking what kind of a mail should we compose while sending to these firms. So a customized one is something that we would recommend. It
Yeah.
would always be beneficiary for both the parties. And we have actually another question related to internship. So there's someone, they've asked which city is the best to do their internship, their architectural internship from.
So yeah, when it comes to choosing the cities, I feel like it's quite important to first of all understand your own background. That I feel like that plays a huge role into the city that you're going into, right? So ideally, obviously, everybody would love to go to metropolitan cities, right? That's like your first choice. Like usually for people who are looking for exposure and looking for having like a good social life as well outside of architecture, what they tend to look out for is metropolitan cities, and you have Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune. Right, and these are usually the cities in which the companies tend to get filled up first, right? Then obviously you move on to your second tier cities, third tier cities. That slowly it kind of trickles down that way. So I'd say when you're trying to choose the city, first of all, understand what the city kind of provides in terms of like the cultural aspect. Your cultural fit within the city also makes a huge impact in how you're going to survive there, especially with internships. Because we all know that architecture is one of the most stressful kind of jobs that is there. It takes a lot of time. So managing and having a good social life outside that is also very important. So checking your cultural fit, making sure that whatever happens around the city is, working with what you want to do. Then if that is how you're going to filter it out, I feel like you'd make the right choice after that.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think we can move forward.
Okay. Now, guys, after this, there are some evaluation criteria which I've mentioned over here. So you have to consider this while you apply for any kind of a firm. So the evaluation criteria, I just categorized some points over here which you can consider. First of all, we need to know the firm's name. Then we can go to the websites. Then we can get to know about the firm. Then we can also go to the social media page and we again get to know about the firm. Then the rest thing is that your work style. Okay, so the work matches your style. That can happen. Then you can get to know about the office atmosphere by connecting with the people, connecting with the seniors, connecting with the faculties. You get to know. Afterwards, there is a thing called a small firm or big firm. So I'll be talking about this into the next slide. But yeah, you can again categorize that you want to work in a small firm or else you want to work in a big firm. You can do both of them. Then guys, something is called as articles published. Now there are big firms who are there into the practical field right now, those who publish articles every single month. And based on the published articles, you get to understand how popular the firm is and how exposure, like what kind of an exposure you will be able to get. So you can also get to know about the articles published through newspapers and through your Google Internet and stuff. Then later on about the reviews about the firm. So you can go search about the reviews. So you get to know about the firm, get to know about the boss. Then the office timings also, guys. Office timing also a lot, like matters a lot. Now there are some firms which keeps you working for 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day. So you also have to categorize this on the basis of office timing. Then someone has some city preferences. So you can categorize on the basis of cities. Then after that, we have something called as remuneration. So remuneration is the same thing that is called a stipend over there. So how much you're going to get the stipend, how much amount you're going to be paid for that. So you can also categorize on the basis of that. Then again, number of employees working into a firm, number of interns been allotted, and what kind of a work you're going to get when you are appointed as an intern. Then one more thing which is very important, that is help in thesis. So if I choose a firm, and is that firm going to help me when I'm going to do my thesis? Now, some people, okay, not 100%, but 50% have an idea what they actually want to do into their thesis projects. So considering that, choosing a firm will help you a lot for designing your thesis also, because you have a core basic data ready with you. You have your, what we say, case studies and literature studies ready. That, okay, I have this data and I can use it into my thesis. So yeah, help in thesis can also happen. Then you can evaluate this on the basis of help in future jobs. Now I wanted to work in a big company so that later on, whenever I just graduate, I can directly go and I can hop in for a job, and then I can just go into a senior position while doing a job. So help in future jobs. So you can choose a firm which will later on help you to get a job there itself, or it adds a tag to your resume. Now we can say if I'm working in a very big company in India, so it adds a tag to my resume over there. So I can say, okay, I worked into this kind of a firm. So later on, whenever I'll be applying to a different company again, they see my resume, and into that resume, I have the tag that, okay, I worked as an intern to that firm. If that matters to you, you can also work with that.
So we have a question, Tanmay. I think you can answer that.
Okay.
If we could name a couple of firms in India and abroad to do our architectural internship at.
Okay, so now first of all, like there are not something like good firms and bad firms. Every firm is good. According to me, every firm is good. Now it totally depends upon an individual, how much the individual is able to understand, able to learn from the firm. So it thoroughly depends on every individual. Now, guys, it depends. What are your future goals? If you want to work with the firm, if you want to go abroad, so you can find out for the firm which will help you go abroad. Now, into abroad, there are big firms. We can say as there is big, then we can say there is. I cannot again specify this, guys. There are a lot of good firms which is there, but again, it thoroughly depends upon an individual, how much the individual wants to learn and how much the individual wants to specialize in some kind of a category. So, guys, it also depends on specialization. Now, if you go to abroad, there are different firms who actually specialize on one single kind of a thing. Now, into foreign, we can say there is urbanization going on, and you want to do something like that. You can specialize into that firms into India for now, and later on, once you're graduated, you can go and apply for that firms also. So, first of all, guys, you need to understand your style, and on the basis of your style, you can evaluate. And we can say we have two categories: one that is big, and one that is small. So big firms and small firms, everyone has like both of these things has their own different kinds of element. So we can say if there is a small firm, you'll be able to work on different kinds of areas. Now, if there is a small firm, you also will be getting a work to do interiors. You also will be getting the work to do the architectural part. You also will be able to go to the site. You also will be able to get to connect with the client. So yeah, small firms will help you with that. One more thing, small firms will be having small projects with them. And then small firm will give you an experience to directly start your own firm. Why? Because of this, because into small firms, you will be there involved in all of these areas. And that all of these areas will make you understand that, okay, these are the process, what is to be needed for me creating my own firm. So it will give you a startup ready as soon as you graduate. And then big firm, I mentioned right now that they specialize in some selective areas. So if you want to just specialize into one selective area, we can go into big firms. Then yeah, big firm has large projects. Now, if you want to have a look actually how the large projects works upon, yeah, you can go for the big firms. And also we can get a chance for working into a higher position when we just graduate or when we apply for a different kind of a firm. Now, if you're working as an intern in a very good company in India, like it is an MNC, and later on you want to go to a higher position after that, they'll consider your resume. They'll consider the work, what you have done into the previous firm. So if you want just that tag to be mentioned into your resume, so yeah, big firm can help you a lot with that. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I think it was a very valid point. Like, see, the thing is, overall, if we talk about that, like big farm and small farm is actually nothing. It's something that you want. What do you want?
Yeah.
Do you want to, like, do you want that tag on your resume? Or do you want to be someone who knows all the details and who likes to take responsibilities? If you want the tag, you can join a big firm. But in big firm, the scenario is the process might go a bit slow. Like, if you are a person who knows Revit, okay, then you might look for a firm who uses Revit. You will not get into a firm where, like, they use Rhino. Okay, so it's how it works. Okay, and when it comes to small firm, they will see your overall work. Like, if you want an overall development, like in terms of architecture, if you want to also, like, get an experience in managing things. Okay, all these things will be helpful when it comes to small firm because you'll have more and more responsibility. So that way, like, and if we, I don't know, like, if right now, if I kind of weigh them together, for me it's very similar because I've had both experiences and it seems all right. Like it's totally upon your choice how what you want to choose and how where do you actually see yourself standing in the near future.
And guys, one thing which I mentioned over here, like some people have a lot of expectations that कि यार अब मैं internship पे जाऊंगा, मुझे ये design करना है, वो design करना है. But guys, also think with the perspective of the company. Like you're gonna join the company for a duration of 6 months, and for a duration of max to max 1 year. How can a company also allot you some project which you will be after some time leaving the company, and that project is left over there, and that thing has been, that has to be handed over to some different kind of a person over there. So some people have a lot of expectations that I am not able to design, the firm is not giving some designing. Also think with the thing about the company, that company is giving you an opportunity, that is a very big thing. But some people won't give you the freedom to design. But I think that is fine. Just you should have an ability to learn, guys. Like let it be you into learning from a small firm, let it be you in a big firm. What matters over here is the ability to learn from any kind of a space. And guys, I'm telling you, the process matters a lot. Research matters a lot. Once you do a lot of research over here, what matters here is that you also go and apply into the good firm. Yeah, that's it from my side.
So we have another question that actually relates to our topic right now. We have Nishchay Chaudhary. He's asking us, is now the right time to apply for an internship abroad? So he wants to do his internship in January. So can he start applying right away?
Yeah, so for applying to a foreign firm, so there are some specific times where they actually just start recruiting them. So if you want to apply in January, so yeah, this is the exact right time. So before 3-4 months, I think, which is very specific, because even into their countries, there are people who, the localites over there, who actually apply just 1 or 2 months before the SEM starts over there. So what I feel over here is, if we have a backup for around 3 months, that is very specific. So we even have a chance for us to try for accommodation over there. We also have a chance to go over the city to look how the location is. So 3 months is the actual time that you should apply beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
also
I
feel,
just want to,
yeah, okay,
yeah,
I'll just
Tarun,
say
go
that
ahead.
after. So, what I was saying was, when it comes to applying to, foreign companies, one thing that you need to pay attention to is the fact that, it is a foreign company, right? So the thing is, when you're working there, you do require your visa, you have your processes that are required to be done beforehand. So you need to keep all this in mind as well. So maybe I personally would say slightly longer would be ideal rather than just 3 months, because you have a lot of processes that are also going to be running through. So the company has to be allowed to do that. And the earlier that you apply for that particular company, the more time they have to kind of process all the information. Like, okay, we're planning to take this person who is coming from outside. So we need to cater to all these processes. So that plays a huge role as well. So the thing is, you're competing with people who are existing within that same state, city, country, whichever it is, right? They tend to get precedence over you because the company doesn't really have to expend any amount to keep them working there because they're from that same place. So when you're trying to get a better chance, you'd want to apply as soon as possible, right? The earlier, the better. There is no time limit. Like if you're planning to apply for an internship, if it's 6 months later also, apply now itself. Look at the company, like how Tanmay had mentioned earlier in the presentation, run through their website. They tend to post when they are looking for interns, they tend to post all these stuff. And they also give the date, like, okay, we're looking at the people from this point, and then the end date is like, okay, till this point, we're going to be looking at, applications. So make sure to do the research that is there. And always, always, when it comes to foreign companies, the earlier you apply, the better. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, and one
Yes.
more advice which I want to give from my side is here: when you apply for a foreign company, guys, do not ask for salaries and stuff. Because one thing, just ask one thing, that can you please apply for my visa? Now there are companies which will apply for your visa, for your business visa, for your traveling visas, just and also for accommodation also. So what you can demand over here is that you just please have a look on my accommodation, and can you just pay for my visa? That's it, guys. Once you get these two things, I do not think there is anything other that you have to require for working into a foreign company. Yeah.
So while we are talking about all these things, I just want to add one last point about this, that is always have a backup. I mean, yeah, so we all considered all these points, but we never know. Something might go wrong. And I'm just going to share one of my experiences. So basically, I had applied in a couple of firms, okay, and there was one or two firms specifically I wanted to join. So there was one firm where I wanted to join, and the moment I sent my portfolio and my email there, So I got a reply, the general one, like, okay, thank you for emailing us. We'll be getting in touch with you within 7 days. If we don't contact you within 7 days, consider yourself not selected. Okay. So it's been 7 days, and I did not receive any reply from them. Although I had been selected in another firm, I was very frustrated that day. Like, it's already the eighth day and I have not got anything. So I just called them up, and the HR received the call, and they said, okay, fine. So sorry, we might have missed your portfolio. Can you please tell us the date when you would have applied? So I told so and so date. So they said, okay, so that means that you have applied 7 days ago. So I'm sorry to say your portfolio was not considered. So then it's just like, my frustration just got built up. And with that frustration, what I did right after I cut my call, I kind of opened my email and again re-emailed them the same portfolio again. Okay. And I remember it was specifically 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon. And same day at 5:30 p.m., I got a email from them reverting back to my portfolio that we would like to have an interview the next day. So I don't know, it was just luck, but um, you can take such kind of steps only when you have a backup. Okay, so going to abroad and all that is really cool. I mean, and obviously it will enhance your skills, but never forget to have a backup. Like, go have the easiest option as your backup. So if by anything, like, by any chance you drift, you have an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So guys, just one last thing, like just like RBI says, "Jankar rahiye, satak rahiye." So just have information about the firms before even you apply, and that's the only step you have to take forward
Yeah.
later on. Yeah.
And another thing that I'd like to share is, this was my personal experience again. We make our portfolios, we put a lot of time behind this, we work on our software skills, and So for me, I did the same, and I went for an interview to a well-known firm, and then I presented my portfolio. But the person never opened my portfolio. So he goes like, I mean, I know what's going to be there in your portfolio. It's going to be everything related to college. And since this is the practical world, I don't think this is going to help me out much. So rather than that, I will test you on a live test right now. So they asked me to make some drawings. So they gave me an hour or so, and they asked me to produce something in whatever software they use. And then that was my test. So sometimes, guys, you just have to be on your toes. You never know what challenge comes your way. Portfolio, yes, it does work, but sometimes people do think the other way. So just be ready for that as well. So, yeah.
And also just one last thing, we do have an announcement since we are talking about portfolios. At the end of this live session, we'll be making an announcement with regards to the portfolio aspect and our company. So just stay tuned for that as well.
So moving on to the next segment, we can start talking about thesis, the thesis that everyone is so scared of and sometimes excited as well. I mean, I personally was really excited, but also confused. Like, I really wanted to do something, but then I was like, there are so many things to do. So I really needed someone. So at this time, thesis, actually, your seniors can guide you well, definitely. For me, actually, I was the first batch in my university. So I had the chance to so my professors were my seniors, so they made sure they were like, since you guys don't have seniors, you just take us as your seniors. So I had that very special bond with my professors, which really helped me out. And yeah, now let's you guys can speak up about your thesis experience.
All right. So now, see, the thing is, there are scenarios basically which are provided to you by your universities like, in terms of theses, that these are the specifications that we require, like plan, section, elevation, render, 3D views, all those things, and then case study, literature study. We will be brushing upon all those things. Okay, but we will also talk about some other myths, like, I mean, generally people uh, don't talk about these things. So the pre-designing part of your thesis is actually quite important. So first thing that comes to, like, comes to our in front of us is our topic selection, and it's like a big milestone. Okay, so selecting the topic is obviously the most important thing. And generally, colleges will suggest, like, keep three topics. Okay, give us three topics and we'll give you the list. But we thought, like, we will tell you that keep five topics in your mind. I know it sounds a lot, but still, like, have five of them, and just have a basic ranking in your head, like, which would be your first preference, second, third, fourth, fifth. It is important for you to rank them, because you never know what you might end up choosing. Okay, based on the general topics that are available, we have mentioned three categories here. Okay, first is experiences, then we have life projects and competition. Now, life projects and competitions are quite understandable. Like you can understand, okay, so in competitions I can go to Volume Zero or like some other websites. Okay, Saint Gobain, and there I can find their upcoming competitions, and you can opt for that as your thesis topic. Okay, you can also kind of you can also kind of look for the live project part. So when you go for a live project, right, so there you will obviously have the details. But when it comes to experiences, experience itself is a vast topic. Like there you could literally choose anything, the kind of background that you have. Okay, do you have some influences from your internship? Like while you're doing your internship, did you develop certain interest? Did something interest you? Do you want to take a thesis accordingly? Okay, and one more thing is what topic do you want to, like, if you're applying to masters, then what topic do you want to do? Like, do you want to choose, like, what subject do you want to do in masters for? So I'll share one of my experiences. So I want to do masters in architecture conservation. So based on that, I had chosen a topic. In fact, I had chosen a topic that I will do thesis on this ever since I was in my second year. Okay, so I stay at a very small town in Jharkhand called Bokaro Thermal. So there we have a thermal power plant. Okay, and it's known as, again, Bokaro Thermal Power Station. So basically, that is Asia's first thermal power plant ever built, and Nehru inaugurated it when India got its independence. Okay, so after 50 years, it just stopped. Like the obviously the tools they were used in the plant were kind of old, so like they stopped, and they actually planned to break that thermal power plant which is situated there. But people actually, like people who had knowledge about that power plant. Okay, they actually did a lot to kind of stop the demolition of the plant. The reason why people actually wanted to stop the demolition is because on the facade of the thermal power plant, there was a lot of murals, which was done by a very famous artist of India known as Nandlal Bose. Okay, so and they wanted to preserve that. If you break the plant, okay, so that kind of goes, and it has the potential to become a Indian heritage, right? So when I discovered this, okay, and when I understood it, every semester when I would get a break, I would come home, I would go to the plant, and I would, like do my own research, thinking that, okay, when I do my thesis, I'm going to choose this topic. I'm going to do something which will be related to the development of these plants. But the first day of my topic selection was totally different. The moment I presented this, everything seemed all right. Like research and all those things were fine. But my teachers just rejected it in first go, because in my university, the university that I come from, VTU, it's pretty famous in Karnataka. So there they had very specifically mentioned that when you choose a topic, it has to be a built intervention. Okay, it cannot be a development project. So my guides, they thought that, okay, this could be something landscapish or some interior development. Okay, like to a different level, yeah, but it won't be something like built intervention. So they just rejected it right away. So I had to kind of, like like, even though I had such a long preparation, I had to kind of turn back and, like look for alternatives. So I'm sure you also, like Tanushree, Tarun, you also would have faced similar instances while you were choosing your topics.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. I feel like that is something that every architecture student at least should go through once. I feel, that the phase of rejection, once you face it, I feel like you get kind of used to it and then you feel a bit more better moving forward. But yeah, so even when I was choosing my thesis project, I kind of chose a project which was a little bit, reactive, you could say, because I want to basically create a model of, a religious place where you're able to kind of, pray to all the religions. Like we're not really focused on any specific one. Now, the thought behind this was very pure. My intention was we bring people together, we make sure people understand everybody else's, religions, maybe try and make it a bit more harmonious. But I fail to look at it from the point of, like, there you do have your religious extremists on whichever side, right? So those people, when it comes into that particular scenario, that makes it a bit of a controversial topic, right? So that will cause certain issues. Then again, when you go to certain, the jurors, if you have, and if they are, maybe got a particular biased opinion on these kind of things, they tend to sway your, jury or your, whatever practicals kind of in one direction, which you wouldn't want. you want it to be as unbiased as possible. So you'd have to choose topics that are not as controversial as this one, right? So a lot of times you will face this rejection, and the only thing I can say to that is whenever you're choosing your topics, make sure that you choose topics that you are passionate about, and at least have 2 or 3 of them minimum. Okay, ideally you would need to have more than that. I'm sure all of us over here on the panels and everybody who's listening also, the people who have done their thesis already, for example, they would have had their fair share of topics and their conundrums of trying to figure out which one to go to.
Yeah. So with me, I'd like to share this experience. So obviously, we had to choose five. We had to submit 5 topics, and from them, ultimately, the guide would help us choose the one that we would go ahead and work upon. And as y'all, I was also very confused. एंड इट्स जस्ट लाइक अगर हम जोमेटो से फूड ऑर्डर करते हैं हम 1 घंटा लेते हैं राइट चूज करने में ये लेना है वो लेना है यू ऑलवेज डू दैट इट्स द मोस्ट डिफिकल्ट डिसीजन ये तो थीसिस है इसमें तो like I'll have to work for 6 months. It's going to be stuck with me. I'll always remember that. Oh, that was the topic. So I can't make a mistake. That was my mindset. So what I did was instead, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, I made a list of things I did not want to do. So I used reverse psychology. So, for example, I didn't want to design residential or get into the industrial sector. So I was clear on that part. Then I joined my interest to it. So I'm more of a outdoor person. I like adventure, and I definitely wanted to design an experiential building. So then, connecting the dots, I came up with my topic, and which everyone really liked, and my guide was happy enough to accept it, and I was lucky that it got selected, and I could work upon it. So my topic finally that got selected was a flamingo observatory center. It was unique, yes. There were challenges because there was nothing made like this. So it was a task looking out for case studies or like things like that. So I had to do literature study and do everything online. But then, yeah, it pretty much worked out. So I think we'll talk about it further, how it's okay to choose projects which were not made before just because you don't have case studies available. So it's not like that, oh, I will not get any backend study, so I'm not supposed to choose this. It's really okay. But then you need to have a strong point as to why this structure needs to be built, or why the why users will need to come to this particular building and will enjoy or whatever use that structure. So that why is a very necessary point in your thesis.
Exactly. I want to add one point over, guys. I just had 5 topics. So from the 5 topics, one topic got selected. Later on, the one topic which is selected got cancelled. Then second topic came. Then the second topic got cancelled. Then the third topic came. And into this selection of process, guys, I just wasted my 2 months. So my just 2 months were just wasted for selecting a topic. So, people started working 2 months before me. And just 2 months, I was just every day going to the college, talking to my guide, sir, this topic. He was like, no, this topic, no, this topic, no. And I used to take around 10-15 days to basically research about the topic and what I can develop out of that topic. So do not feel bad if your topic gets rejected. But what matters over here is, what do you contribute? When you select a topic, what is your contribution to that? That really matters over here.
Right. So, based on what this question, like, how when things get rejected, okay, so how can we, if we have a lot of topics, or if we are not able to decide, okay, how can we prioritize? Like, people will come and say, okay, go choose this topic, okay, based on your interest, okay, or do something, okay, because you would have done something like this before. But how do we prioritize those topics? Like, people don't really talk about it. They will come and suggest, okay, but those suggestions become very vague. But here, what we have done is we have given you 3 categories on the basis of which you can actually consider those priorities. So we have mentioned like 3 things. So one is background research, contribution to the society, and strong concept or solution. Okay. So now, if you think about the background research, so whatever topic you have, make sure you have enough background researches so you can, like, push forward. Like, if you have background research, your jurors, or not jurors, your guides, they will also give a thumbs up. Okay, fine. Like, looks like this topic has like this person has potential, like, doing this kind of topic. Then comes contribution to the society. Like, it's and contribution to the society and strong concept or solution are kind of the same thing, we would say, but It's like, imagine when you are creating this building, you need to be in the scenario and think, ki, so when I create a building, okay, and if let's say if this is in Bangalore, how is it going to affect the surrounding, okay? Or if you create a building which is in like in the northeastern part in Arunachal Pradesh, okay, so how is that going to affect the surrounding, and will it have a positive effect, okay? And then third point that comes is your solution, okay. Every single thesis topic that we choose are basically a problem, and we are catering to the solution of that, okay. How strong or is your solution, basically is how strong is your concept, is it, does it make sense, okay? Those are the points that you need to consider, okay, while you're prioritizing your thesis topic. Think about these 3 points, and then you can kind of move forward. Then moving forward, we have our project researches, okay. Now, while we are doing our project researches, there are three things that we all know: literature studies, case studies, and then the study of our our standards, right? What people don't talk about is how much literature study or how much case study is required for so and so topics, right? So we have again categorized it. Like, now we don't want to create a template that you have to follow this, but it's based on our general understanding, how we have faced and what do we feel. Based on that, we have created a scenario where you can scenarios where you can see the bar. So if you're choosing a commercial topic, like let's say a five-star hotel, or a mall, okay, or maybe an airport. So in that case, we have given more priority to the case study. You can see the difference. Okay, you will get a lot of examples of these kind of topics online. Okay, but what matters is when you go to that particular place, how do you actually place your fire escape staircase? Where do you have your fire ducts? Okay, what is the size or of your lobby? Okay, how many lifts should you have? These are what matters when it comes to those commercial projects, and you need to really be there. You need to have that tape in your hand and kind of measure it and really experience that. Then only it will consider, it will have an impact on your real real thesis. And then when it comes to live projects, so when you have a live project, you already have some of the parameters set. You have the site, you have the surrounding. Based on that, you can do certain kind of your online or your literature study. But you can maybe go to some similar case study areas where similar building has been done. You can visit, okay, in India or abroad or any other country, okay, and kind of check how it kind of goes on. And then we have competition. Now in competition, I have here we have kind of given the literature study more importance, because in competition it could be anything. You could be creating on the on Earth, or you could be creating on Moon or Mars. If it depends on the kind of competition that you choose, right? So it sometimes it might get difficult to have a have a case study, but no one will question your topic because it's already a competition, so no one can come and question it. So you can actually back up more with your literature study. Then comes the exceptional scenario. So here in this, in exceptional, so like Tanushree said, she took a topic, she chose a topic where there is no example as such in India. Okay, so she had to back her up with more and more literature study. So now, if you have the time and the resources, you can maybe if you find out somewhere which is not in India, somewhere which is abroad, then you can maybe go visit abroad and do the case study. But only you need to consider, will it be worth it? Okay, because you have limited time for your thesis. So I, after all my rejections, I ended up with one topic, that is a one-stop crisis center for sexually harassed victims. Now, when I chose this topic, it was again very difficult for me to come up with case studies, because there are no case studies as such. Because I wanted to create an institution where I wanted to have almost everything which will help you heal your mind. You come after you are after you go through such a phase, you come there and you kind of get out of there after being healed. Okay, so I didn't really find any case studies. So what my guide suggested was uh, come to an area program. Now, I won't say that even before you start your case study, you should come to your area program. But she told me that come to a basics of area program. Like if you're imagining your project, think about the buildings, or think about the kind of elements that you want in your site. So I thought, okay, fine. Maybe I would like a hospital, okay, which would serve as an immediate requirement if a person is physically injured. Then I would require a healing center. Okay, also these people need to stay at my institution, so maybe I would need a shelter home. And also, I would like to create an awareness center where people could come and experience these kind of, like, not experience as such, but they should know about the country's demographics. Okay. So these many things. So I thought, okay, fine. Then I can do separate case studies, maybe a case study for hospital, okay, case study for a healing center, case study for a shelter home, and awareness center. So it could be a museum or any other awareness center. So this way, I kind of backed up with literature study and existing case study. So that kind of helped me. So, Tarun, do you have something like, regarding this? Do you have your own experience that you would like to share regarding your case studies? Tarun, you're on mute.
So yeah, sorry about that. Like I was saying, the topic that I had chosen for my thesis was a mental health rehabilitation center. Now in India, we don't really have strong case studies that I could use as like a demographic to kind of work with. So instead, what I had to do was I had to primarily focus on my literature studies. Okay, so in India, what the unfortunate situation is, we have two extremes, right? At least as far as I've seen, maybe this trend has started to change. This was back when I was doing my thesis. So at that point, I ran through, one of the case studies in Pune, but the system or the method of living essentially there for these people was very poor. And the main reason is because that topic has had a huge taboo sitting over it. Right. So because of that, you do get some kind of blocks when you're trying to find your ideal case studies or stuff like that. But you don't have to be disheartened. All you need to do is move forward into a literature studies, because in literature studies, you can kind of look at stuff, examples from all over the globe. So, for example, what I was looking at was a particular rehabilitation center called Beit Khalokim. Now, this is a rehabilitation center for like army veterans back in Israel. Right now, my user group doesn't really fall into this category, but that doesn't really matter, because what I can do is I can analyze what are the architectural elements that they have done within this particular project to kind of work with the various aspects or the situations that they deal with these users. Right now, this is an excerpt from the report that I had made. So I just took this out so that I can show you the various aspects that we look at. Right. So you understand the various, design interventions that they've come across in these examples, and you can understand them for yourselves. And that will help you kind of work with a particular set. Similarly, we have, I took another, rehabilitation center. This is in Netherlands. It's called Groot Klimendal. Now, this is, you can see a slightly different, I've chosen a different style of architecture again to kind of get a broader understanding of, the various solutions that they have pretty much thought about to kind of cater to these kind of users. So as and when you do these kind of understandings, you'll be able to analyze them. And when you're analyzing them, you need to analyze them with respect to the differences in terms of various aspects. Now, what I do usually is I kind of filter out the main points that I need to understand with respect to the project. Okay. And then I list down those aspects with respect to each, my literature studies, my case studies. Right. So once I do all of this, this gives me a better understanding as to how exactly they've analyzed and worked through different solutions. And it gives me a structure. So in case I do forget something from, earlier, where I don't have to necessarily go back into, my literature reviews from before, what I can do is I can just quickly analyze the comparative analysis that I've done. And that helps you, go into your thesis modeling and the designing aspect, and it'll give you a slightly upper hand when it comes to doing these kind of details. So that's why don't be disheartened if you don't find case studies. Literature studies are always there, and always work with elements for your benefit. That is something that is very important.
And guys, one thing I want to add up over here. Case studies are very important for us because whenever you present something to a tutor, whenever you present something to any kind of a person, you can relate and you can tell, okay, I did my case studies and I have a basic reference from there, and that is the reason I'm incorporating this into my design. So once you have done a very good case study, no one will be there to question you, because you are taking the references, you're taking the inferences from your case study, you are analyzing that, and there you can input and you can say, okay, these things have been missing, which I want to add up. These things are there, which I want to add up. So you have a strong point, and that strong point, that is the only reason we are doing the case study. So always remember, whenever you have to add up a point, take the elements from the case studies and then incorporate into your design. Yeah.
Yeah, so we can answer a couple of questions. There is so there's a question asking what thesis topics could we choose for an interior designer?
Okay, so I actually won't be able to say like one specific topic for interior designing, but what you can do here is, what matters in interior design is you take some specific area and you develop that using your interior thoughts. Now, I'll give you a reference over here. I had a friend. What she actually did was there was a fort which was there nearby into Maharashtra, which wasn't used for any kind of a purpose. So it was just it was just conserved for some kind of a thing. What she actually did over there is she just went to the fort. She did her case study about all the dimensions and stuff. Then into the fort, she just did a basic research about the fort, and then according to the development of the fort, she just inspired and she took some different inspirations from that area, and then she developed the interiors of that fort itself.
Yeah.
So what you can do here is you need to have a cause for designing something. Like you actually need to have a cause, like why you are actually designing something for the interior over there. So you need to have a concept, then you need to have a cause. That's the only thing which matters, which I think right now.
Correct. We have another question from Akshay. He has asked us, what kind of softwares do we need to use during our portfolios or in our thesis? So I think we'll get back to him. We will be talking about that, Akshay. So you can stay tuned. And yeah, I think other than that, we've answered most of them. They've asked about CVs. Yeah, so I think we can go ahead.
All right. All right. So, moving forward, the last category that we are left with is urban or development. So, if your thesis is something like what Tanmay said, like, if you're trying to develop something, okay, in that case, how to back up, like, how to push yourself out there, like, in terms of case studies and literature studies. So, that's why we have kept the part same. Like, you will get a lot of references from, from your online studies or like literature studies. And at the same time, since you are doing something development, so you should have enough knowledge about that area. So, and you should have equal amount of literature study and case study when it comes to a development project. Okay, you can also consider how Tanmay said when it comes to an interior project, you can think of a place and analyze it and develop it. Okay, so I think that is something which is important. So moving on, the next topic that we have here is site selection. Now, this again, we do spend a lot of time basically choosing a site until and unless if you have a competition, like if you have chosen a competition project or a live project where the sites are kind of specified. Okay, but in case of a hypothetical project, you don't have a specific site. So we thought that you should never settle for one single option. Okay, always have a backup. So I would share another experience from my thesis time is I chose my site in Bhopal, and I did my online research, and I chose one area. Okay, it kind of looked nice in Google Earth. Okay, there's water around it, and there were trees. Okay, so I thought, okay, why not go for this kind of site? And I forgot to check the land use map for that. And when I went to Bhopal, I realized that that place is actually conserved. Like it's under the conservation site. You cannot go and just build something there. Okay, so what happened was I had to kind of extend my stay in Bhopal, and I had to do my researches based on my site being at Bhopal, and then I had to look for another option. So when it comes to that, okay, always have different options and always check the land use map, because that is going to be extremely important. Now, if you let's say if you have two, three categories of your site and you're not able to understand, okay, fine, if this site also looks appropriate, this also looks appropriate, how can we categorize them? So for that, we have mentioned like our SWOT analysis. Now, you will all be familiar with this term SWOT. We analyze our case studies or our inferences or any other thing, okay, our site analysis, everything based on this. But here we have specifically mentioned SWOT for your site selection, because when it comes to selection, analyze the strengths of that. How is it, how, the kind of building that you're going to build there, how is it going to put an impact on the strength part? Is it going to enhance the strength part? Or what are its weaknesses? Okay, how can it create more opportunities for your user group, the kind of group that you're targeting? Okay, based on your SWOT analysis, you can categorize your site, and then you can go for the site if you have more than one options. All right. So, Tanmay, would
Yeah.
you like to
Yeah,
share more?
I'd like to share my sheet also with you all. But before that, I'll just to tell. So the topic which I chose for my thesis was a five-star hotel into Pune itself. Now, what happened at that duration? There was a cricket match going into Pune between India and England, and the match was happening in a stadium called as MCA Cricket Stadium in Pune. And from that stadium itself, people like the cricketers had to travel to Conrad, and Conrad is around 30 kilometers from the stadium location. So every day cricketers had to travel to Conrad and again come back over here. So at that moment, I just thought like, why are they traveling so much? 30 kilometers every day of a travel before a match. And that could be hectic. And there was no different kind of a hotel nearby, on a radius of around 15 kilometers. So what I thought was maybe I can develop a hotel which can be nearby to this MCA cricket stadium. So maybe into future, what can happen is people can just come to the stadium, they can enjoy the match, they can stay to the hotel, even the cricketers can stay. So that is the reason I just thought of doing that. So this was the sheet which I developed for doing the site analysis. So what I did over here is, first of all, we just have to give the basic information about the location. Like, why is it suitable for us to develop a hotel over there? So it was my topic, that was hotel. So I just thought like, why is it necessary for developing a hotel over here? So you need to have a justification for every single thing. That at the very end, your thesis should be justified on the basis of your site. So the justification which I gave over here, that was, it was very nearby to the national highway, which was directly connecting us to Mumbai. So, within 2 hours, you would reach Mumbai, and Lonavala was just, half an hour from this side. And even Pune was just 20 kilometers from this point of location. Even you can see I had a cricket stadium which was very nearby. So this is the reason I thought that I can take my site over here. And the second landscape element, which I thought that was very necessary for a hotel, that was a river was running just below my site from that side. So I thought that, okay, I can take my site over there. But now whenever you develop something, so I developed a hotel. So there were some things which I had to keep into consideration. Like now I was developing a 5-star hotel. That means people are going to travel. Is the road accessible? So yeah, I thought about that also. Then later on, there are going to be some restaurants, there are going to be some hotels which are going to come into my whole hotel itself. So how is the like raw foods and raw vegetables going to come into my hotel? So is there any space from which I'm going to take it? So yeah, I had a chalk area where all the market stuff used to happen. So also I just made a map over here. So where I can just find the supermarkets and stuff. So I just wanted a natural connection point to my site directly. So also I just made a map for that. Then afterwards, you also have to specify on the climate, like the microclimate, the macroclimate, major things you have to specify on that. Then I just made a very small diagram for my site. So is my site having all the views? What is the kind of circulation I'm having? And noise and lesson and stuff. So you have to do a basic analysis about your site. This way you will be able to do it. Yeah. Samrita, you're on mute. Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah. So now moving forward, the next thing that comes, like you can consider this to be the last stage, that is concept development. Like after this, your site plan and all those things start. But before that, we need to have a concept. So here we have mentioned like 5 points, okay, 5 basic points that you can basically consider how your concept is going to go. Now we have got research. We have got like basically you can take instances from your researches. You can take instances from your case study or literature study, and then obviously site analysis, and then develop a zoning, and then have your sketches. Okay. So now this zoning part and developing sketches part is extremely important because when we think of concept, okay, it doesn't have to be a one-word concept, okay, or it doesn't always have to be a one-liner. It doesn't have to be a tree or a flower, okay, or some random shape, okay. It can be a series of information that you have been working on since the beginning. So I just want to tell that you need to think of instances. For example, if imagine if you are doing the research, okay, think of 3 references that can convert into a building. Imagining those 3 references, consider your case studies and literature study. See if there is any element that can be taken over and can be developed and put on your site. If you want to put it on your site, how is your user going to access it? Okay, that is when the zoning comes in picture. I, in fact, while I was developing my thesis, did not have one single concept. My zoning was pretty much everything for me. So I would like to share an instance from that as well. Um, yeah. So when I chose my site, I kind of created a diagram like this for my zoning. I know it's like it's very weird and there's not much you can take up. But the thing is, it was enough for me to understand that where exactly I want to add my elements. So I was very specific that in my site, since it's going to be a little bit of sensitive topic, so I wanted specific development. Like I wanted my public area and my private area to have, like, it should be at very specific position, and in between I wanted to have a semi-public area. So what happened is the image that I'm showing you is of my site, and towards the lower side there was a, there was a highway, and towards this other end, it actually the site actually ends up at living residential quarters here. So the highway side is more active. So I was very specific. I want to add my my public buildings, like my awareness center or my public plazas on this side, so that it will be easier for me to take up my users, and they kind of can access it quickly. But when it comes to my shelter homes and my hospital, okay, so the people who will be coming to this institution would like to have a really private life, and we would need to provide them utmost security. So for that, I chose this side. Could be this side of the site could be appropriate, because that way, that side we had residential areas, and the crowd was really less that side. So I could specify. So this way, I kind of started developing my concepts, and I created something like this. I had very organic ideas in my mind how I could kind of create my form. I developed my sketch, and from that I developed something like this. Then I put this kind of sketch into other softwares, and then I kind of moved on with my other topics. Okay, and then see, when it comes to site, okay, you also should have some specific sketches which should help you in your modeling. You should have references which could actually, like, when you do conceptual sketch, you should have references which would help in your modeling, an element. Okay, if you want, let's say, a certain part of your building to look so and so, so I created those elements as well. How I wanted my amphitheater to look like, okay, how I wanted my building corridors to look like, okay, if I had my plaza, okay, how should my plaza be? Should it be public or should it be semi-public? How can I achieve those things? Okay, then I had some some gardens where I would have some herbal plants. So I created scenarios of those as well. Okay, imagining them in my section and all that. So this way you can kind of develop. And then I moved on with my site. So my site was extremely contoured. So what I thought was I would come up with a solution where my building is kind of merged with the site and the visual connection is kind of proper. So that way I created, again, I cut a very sectional, like very conceptual section, and I started placing them. Okay, placing my buildings on areas, and I started imagining the visual connection. Would it be proper? Okay, how will I be able to create barriers and all that thing? So that way, you should develop your sketches, and these sketches are going to be something that will help in your design process. All right. So maybe you guys can
Yeah,
show us
because
some of,
mm,
add some inputs
yeah,
regarding this as well.
Right. So usually after you're done with your site selection and site analysis and all that, you're going to start doing your design interventions, right? So when it comes to your design interventions, what you're going to have to do is you need to ensure that when you're working with the design aspect, you need to understand that there are basically there's a breakdown for it, right? We can't just work with we can't continue working on the same topic constantly, right? So one thing that is very important to remember is the fact that you have your main four constituents to your design intervention. You have your design, you have your modeling, you have your rendering, and you have post-production. Now, these are your four primary importance. Each of them have equal importance, right? Design and modeling, I'm sure all of you are thinking about doing it, and you guys will do it, right? But a lot of times what happens is people tend to design for way too long. They don't, allocate the times properly, and they won't really have enough time for rendering and post-production. Right, rendering and post-production is also a very, very important part of your thesis. It is the main part of the thesis because this is where your design speaks for itself, right? You may not have instances where you will be able to speak in on behalf of your thesis. So what you need is your thesis to speak for itself, and that comes out loudly with your renders, which are created and put on your particular thesis project. Now, one thing to remember is the timing, right? You need to kind of remember that you have a specific timing that you need to work with, and you do have your deliverables. Now, that is something that you cannot forget. There is going to be a lot of explorations and everything, but you cannot forget the fact that you have your sections, your plans, your elevations. All of these are very, very important because they explain your model when you are not present to explain your model. Okay, so your deliverables absolutely have to be complete. And another question which is usually asked is, when it comes to exploring, how much can I, explore in design? Now that is kind of dependent on the amount of time that you have, right? So, for example, if you have a thesis semester for 6 months where you're going to be designing, right? Your first 2 months is going to be purely focused on, you're doing your site selections, your detailing, site analysis, zoning, all of those aspects. Then after that, you will have 4 months left for the design process. Now, in those 4 months, what I would suggest is what we need to do is, when you are allocating those 4 months, you need to have minimum 1 month for your rendering and your post-production part, right? That is very important. Rendering and post-production requires 1 month so that you will comfortably render out your elements and then do the post-production in Photoshop, whichever software that you're familiar with, right? And that will give you a strong position to create your sheet. So make sure to allocate time properly when you're doing these particular elements. But at the same time, remember that in your the thesis semester is where you can do as much exploration as possible, right? Because your thesis semester essentially is the culmination of your entire course. Like whatever you have done throughout your bachelor's in architecture, your thesis is the culmination of all of it. So whatever you have learned, you're going to start applying that into the particular project that you're doing, and that project is going to be your standout project when you're applying for internships later on, or if you're planning to do your like working forward and stuff like that. So this is these are points that you need to keep in mind when you're doing this. Another question that comes up a lot, right, is what are the softwares that we need to use? Now I do understand that in architecture we do have a really large set of softwares, right? I mean, it does get kind of difficult to kind of understand which particular software that we need to use. Now, personally, what I believe is you can kind of filter them through two three main points. You have your comfortability, you have speed and ability. Okay. Now, comfortability is basically how comfortable you are with that particular software. Now, this is of prime importance. I do understand that you guys want to explore in terms of design. You want to create organic profiles. You want the entire thing to fly in, like midair. You do have a lot of, requirements and you want to explore a lot. But at the same time, you need to understand that when you're working with examples or when you're working with your models, the software that you choose has to be a software that you are comfortable with. Okay. So personally, when I did my project, I primarily worked on SketchUp because I knew that, excuse me, that when I was working with 3D models, creating 3D models in SketchUp is relatively easier. And then when it came to possibly creating organic profiles after that, I know that SketchUp would take a relatively large amount of time rather than now. So I would use Rhinoceros for those aspects. So once you kind of break down, the ability of this software, you need to analyze in terms of the speed, because Rhinoceros will allow you to create organic profiles much faster than any other software. So you'd work in that. So there's also going to be a lot of works that is going to happen in tandem with a bunch of other softwares. And lastly, you also have ability. Now, the ability of the software, like obviously there are certain softwares that have its abilities, like Revit, for example, has the ability to create sections, right? And it gives you detailed sections directly. So you can start using the various softwares for all their abilities to make sure that you get the final output that you need in the fastest amount of time. Now, I'm sure that, Tanmay or Samrita, one of you would have, an instance that you'd want to share in terms of how you used various softwares for your project.
Yeah, so I'll just share. I've used a lot of software for doing the final out product of mine. So this was my final output. And for this, the whole building block was modeled using Revit software. Then afterwards, first of all, it was 2D drafting. Everything was done into AutoCAD. Then into Revit, I just modeled this whole building. Then later on this roof, I thought this roof could be done into 3ds Max. So this roof was modeled into 3ds Max. Then the whole back portion, everything was modeled using SketchUp. So I thought this fractal canopies kind of element would be easy for me to model into SketchUp. So it was modeled into SketchUp. And at very last point, everything was brought together. And then every single element was imported individually into Lumen. So I got this final output using the software Lumen. And later on, the post-production and stuff was done using the Lumen software itself. So every single block was modeled differently using different softwares and at the end brought together. And then this Lumen gave me the final output where I can just render the scenes and I can use it for my design. So Revit, then 3ds Max, SketchUp, and Lumen, and then Photoshop. So 5 softwares altogether used for getting the final output like this. Yeah.
So now, whereas in my case, I was very specific that for my thesis, I would be using Revit. because of its potentials again. So from the beginning till the end, like I did do some like initial plannings in AutoCAD, but from the beginning till end, I used Revit. There were some instances in my software which I used in SketchUp based on SketchUp's abilities. But then again, I bought them in Revit and I compiled everything in Revit. I created my site in I think in SketchUp and then final output from Lumion. So you can see the question that is. Um, which software to use. It totally depends upon what have you learned in 5 years. That is what Tarun basically explained. What we were doing throughout the last 5 years, those abilities, okay, where are we exactly comfortable at? And see, the thing is, like, Tarun emphasized how post-production is important. I would suggest if you don't know post-production, if you don't know Lumion or Photoshop, before you start your thesis, make sure you learn that because that's going to talk. Your designs are going to talk, right? So yeah, over to you, Tarun.
So yeah, these are pretty important points. I'm sure Tanmay and Sameda explained them to the the extent of it has to be. Now coming back, like a lot of times people tend to talk about the fact that they don't really have enough time to do it. So allocation of time, like I mentioned earlier, is of prime importance, right? How long should I spend on design? So like I said, 1 month of design means you have 2 or 3 months of focusing on design. Now, even when you are focusing on design, right? There is a time where you need to stop design. Now, I cannot emphasize this enough. I am speaking completely from personal experience that I personally took the design aspect way too far. I did not have enough time after that, to render it out, give the post production to let it speak for itself. Right. So remember, you do have your deliverables. You have a specific time when you have to submit your work. Right. Now, you need to focus on that time allocation and the fact that you have an end time for the submission. Now, that doesn't mean that once you're done with your thesis, now it's kept under lock and key, you can't touch it anymore. No, that is just the end of when you're going to do it for college. After that, you are still allowed to work on it. There's nobody stopping you from working on it moving further. So what you can do is once you're done with your, thesis semester, you can then work on it after that also. Now, personally, what I had done is I had completely revamped my thesis design because I feel I didn't do the project justice initially. So in these kind of situations, you can do that for yourself as well. It's not necessary that you need to, work, continuously. So remember that you do have a deadline, right? The deadline is there, and whatever your deadline, minus 1 month from it, so that you do your rendering and post production when it comes to design. I cannot stress this enough, and I'm sure all the panelists who are here do agree to that point, and I'm sure they also would have felt the same thing in their thesis as well.
Guys, I'll share one thing. Like imagine today is the final jury of my thesis. It was at 4 o'clock, and I just ended my sheet composition just 2 hours before that. So at 2 p.m., my whole thesis was just compiled, and after 2 hours, I had my jury. So I was just very detail oriented. I just did not want any small mistake even into my CAD plan. So every day I used to open the CAD file, I used to edit it. So I did not want any mistake in that. So every day I was just focusing on the CAD plan, CAD plan, CAD plan, and it took a lot of time for me to go to the very end stage of that. So yes, guys, you need to know where you have to stop because the juror it did not even see to the plan. He was just listening to what I'm explaining to him. That's it. He did not even look at the plan. He was just hearing, guys. So yes, everyone needs to know where they have to stop for this.
So in this case, what happened to me was I was when I was doing my thesis, I was very specific that I had 5 different building in my site plan, and I wanted to detail all 5 of them, including my plazas. That backfired like anything. So now I'll show you an example. Like I'll just show you some of my plans sheet. So this is just an example. So I right now I'm just showing you a hospital plan. So the thing is, my plans and sections they might look kind of all right, but what I feel is every sheet kind of lacks in details. Like here, if you see these areas where I had added some plants or something, so I had specific details in my mind that based on my sketches that I would like to share, but I couldn't. It's simple because I just thought I wanted to detail out every bit of it in my site plan. Okay, and actually that is not possible. Okay, so if you're using a if you're working on a large scale project, you need to cut down and you need to know your boundaries as well. uh, for example, in my case, I had hospital and I had awareness center. Okay, so maybe I would have thought like since my project would have been like since it is a bit sensitive, so I should have focused on the sensitive bit of it, like maybe on the shelter home and on the healing center part. Maybe I could have said, okay, fine, like the hospital and the awareness center part is not detailed. I could have done like that, and then I could have showed the showed more and more details in my sheets. So that is what my sheets lack. That's what I still feel the same when I see it. Yeah. So
And guys, one more thing, like the thesis submission is just not the final read for you to end over there. Once the submission is done, if you feel like, okay, you need to develop something, you can do it. Because why are we doing thesis? Because somewhere at the end, we're going to use it somewhere for job applications or getting for the masters over there, right? So the submission date is not the end. Now, what people do after the thesis has been done, they're like, yeah, thesis to ho gaya. Abhi main kya karunga? So it's not like that. Even if the thesis is done, guys, what you can do here is you can update your thesis also. Because if you feel that, okay, I lagged somewhere during my thesis submission time, now I have some months of duration for me to redevelop it. Yeah, you can do it. At the end, what matters is your happiness, that you are getting a final output and your final updated thesis over there. So yes, guys, you can just go after the submission also, you can update it. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the primary importance. Now, we're not going to be giving you design, ideas, and we're not going to be going to talk about that because that is like an endless conversation, and it is also very individual based. So if I have something specific, then somebody might disagree. Like Samrita might disagree with what I say, or Tanmay might disagree, right? So we won't really go into the design details. So we're going to kind of end it at this point where we kind of remember the fact that your time allocation is the most important thing that's going to help you, especially with your internship applications, while working in internships, while even working after your internships in a normal firm. Time allocation is going to be your best friend. When you allocate time properly, you'll find that the whole process of working or doing your sheets or whatever it is becomes a lot simpler and becomes a lot more streamlined. And you won't really have to be stressed having your 15th cup of coffee in the night at like 6 a.m, right? I'm sure everybody has done that at some point. I personally have had countless number of nights where I've been sleepless, right? So try and avoid that, right? You make sure that you set a timeline, follow that timeline. And once you do follow that timeline, you'll see that it becomes a lot more convenient for yourself to kind of move forward.
Exactly. And guys, just one thing from my side, that is, just know the purpose. Just from the very beginning, know the purpose, why you are doing the thesis, and just make sure that you are following the purpose till the very throughout the whole process. So then you can justify your whole design. So you can have a starting point. Okay, this is the reason why I started with my thesis, and this is the justification that you should give at the very end of your jury. So then the juror gets to understand why you have selected the topic, why you have selected the site, why you have designed using some concept, and then what is your output. So you have to justify the whole purpose of selecting the topic. Yeah.
True. So I think we have a question that we can take. So there is Digila. She is asking us, when exactly do we start working on our thesis portfolio? So I think we have already had a live session, a previous live session, everything about portfolios. So I think the link is already in the description box. You can definitely go and check that session out. It's a detailed session. You will also get to know a lot of other things, what all you have to work for portfolios, types of softwares to focus upon, because this portfolio is going to help you get a job. It's going to become your identity. So you can definitely go check it out. I would also like to mention we have a number of blogs published on a couple of things related to today's session, be it internships, cover letters, topics for thesis, things that we can relate to, and they're all linked in the description box. So I would like you all to please go and read them, have a look at them. It will give you a better insight, a better idea.
Yes, and guys, one more thing. Let it be internship, let it be thesis. So both of the things are going to come once in a life. So it's like choosing a life partner once in a life. So be very specific for that, so that you can, be happy later and that you can say that I just worked into this firm. I just chose this topic for my thesis that way.
and also before you start your thesis, make sure you talk to one or two of your juniors and keep them for yourselves in case you need some help.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's me too.
Yeah.
We have another question from Bhavika. She is asking, do you get paid for internships?
Now it depends. Now, yeah, sometimes we get paid, sometimes we do not get paid.
Yeah.
But
I
it
personally
also
didn't get paid, just to put it out there. But then I was in there for the experience, for my practical knowledge, and it was a well-known firm, and it was doing the kind of projects that I was looking for. So it kind of substituted for me, and also because I didn't move cities, it was near my house. So but it does matter that wherever you're doing your internship, you should get some amount of stipend if at all you've moved cities, because you obviously need to look out for your expenses. But otherwise, most of them do provide a stipend.
what basically matters is your design learning over there. Like
Yeah.
if money matters to you, then it depends. But like if you really want to work in that firm, I do not think like salary and all should matter to you. If you really want to work, you can work over there. But also, I think you can also demand if you're not native to that city itself. If you're traveling from a very different city and you're totally new about the city, you do not know anything. So I think demanding can also help sometimes. So you can maybe ask once that I'm totally new to this place. I do not know what happens here. So I'll be just needing some amount for my accommodation and just for my rest expenses. So yeah, you can ask for that also.
I mean, yeah, that is the main point. See, a lot of times you will hear about unpaid internships, but the main thing is that you need to open a communication with the particular team that you're applying to, with the company as well, right? So don't be hesitant in terms of contacting them and asking them with regards to these questions, because these are all important questions that you need to ask. So whenever it is, if you have any requirements, that is personal to you, or if you have some specific requirements from the company, make sure to voice it out when you are in communication with them. Don't try and voice it out later, because then it might
Yeah.
or you might be voicing it out in vain. So make sure to address all the queries, whatever queries, doubts, questions, anything that you have before you join. When you're still in communication, get all of your questions answered. That is very, very important. And the same thing goes with your the stipend as well. Make sure to ask for it in the communication in the earlier time.
And one more thing, guys, like right now, if we look for the condition, like just COVID just passed away right now. So even if we look from the side of the firm, even firms were having some projects which were on hold for a lot of time. So even for their income, it took a lot of time to just start away. So maybe some firms would be hesitant to give like interns a stipend directly after they just jump on this. So even if we try to look from their side, it is also acceptable. But even if we look from our side, that is also acceptable. So it is just a matter of understanding which happens over here, guys.
So I remember one of my friend who was in college, so she really wanted to get into one firm, and the day she got her offer letter, she was extremely excited. She was jumping in class, and so but then when she went to the firm, in terms of payment, she didn't really get much. But I understood it. She was very happy with it. She stated a problem to us like once or twice. Yeah, I am not getting properly paid. But it actually helped her in her thesis. Like she told me many times, things that I learned, okay, the kind of sustainable work they used to do, I had moved my my thinking towards my design. So basically, again, like what we all said, obviously are something that will come from our experiences, but voicing it out is again important. That is what Tarun said. So if it totally again depends upon you, what are you expecting, okay, and then you can maybe take it forward.
We have another question related to the same. So this person is saying she's not able to get an internship currently. So what options does she have to broaden her horizon?
What I'd suggest is when you are looking for internships, the main thing is to keep searching. Really, never give up would be an ideal thing. Now, I do know it's a slightly cliched, and you probably heard that a lot of times, right? But it still holds true, though. Like a lot of times, you're going to have to kind of, just constantly keep trying. There's no end to it, because it's not just yourself. Like currently, you're the one who's probably voiced it, but there's probably other people as well who are in a similar situation as you, right? So the main point that you need to do is just keep applying, keep expanding your reach. Look at the different aspects of research, just like how Tanmay had mentioned earlier in this session. He said, look at LinkedIn, look at their Instagram page. You have various points where you can basically understand whether they're looking for interns, whether they're looking for junior architects, whatever it is that you're applying for. So just make sure that you're always on the lookout for it. Don't give up hope. There is always going to be an opening for somebody at some point, right? So just make sure that you choose the correct firm that you want to work with, and keep looking, and make sure to be active on all the social media websites, even LinkedIn. I mean, the business media websites as well, you could say, right? So make sure that you're active on there, and sooner or later, I'm sure that one or two of them should definitely click and work out.
And the thing is, if you feel that your internship semester has started and most of your friends would have got internships, please contact them. Please talk to them and see if their firm has some opening. Maybe they can talk to their bosses. Okay, maybe they can get into help you out with their contacts. So make sure you do that. I mean, I know it might sound like you're basically stooping down a bit asking your friends, but um, in these kind of scenarios again, like never back down, never back down. Like make sure you kind of like your end goal is to do an internship, right? So make sure you do pretty much everything that's in your hand. So talking to your friends, I think that's definitely in your hand. So make sure you do that. Talk to them, and yeah, never
And
let
same
your
way,
hopes
guys,
down.
you can talk to your seniors also. So seniors can, if you're not getting an internship, you can talk to your seniors wherever your seniors are doing a job. So your seniors can, give your reference to the company. So where they've actually worked or where they're actually working right now. So communication matters, guys, over here.
Okay, so we have one last question that we can take. It's an interesting one. So Archita Singh has asked when to start focusing on our preference of style of architecture.
So I'll say this is inherent as soon as you jump into your architecture field. So you can see there are different students into a class, and everyone is doing something very different. Now, if I relate myself, I do not even know how to sketch a single thing, even right now. So I knew that okay, it was very difficult for me to do something like that. So I got to know okay, that is not my style. So I just cut off that part. Then I got to know that I started liking designing part. Then I also like I just liked green elements which were there, like putting plants over there. So whenever the wind passes, it feels cool. So these small elements, when I was into my first year, it attracted me. And later on, when I went to my second year, third year, so step by step, it got my style itself. So I developed my own style using that. Yeah.
You shouldn't also be confusing between style and interest. Like
Yeah.
when you come to this, when you start, like when you come to architecture, okay, when you start doing your bachelor's, um, there is something called style that is basically like how you design things, and there is interest. So for example, in my case, I don't think I have yet developed a style of my own, but I know my interest. Okay, I like to do researches. The moment we started doing analysis, okay, from our whichever semester, okay, I thought yeah, this is where I excel. Okay, my analysis used to be good in class. Okay, and I would really like to focus on that. So maybe that. And also, I would just like to give an example that I've studied somewhere that Louis Kahn developed his style at the age of 50 years. Okay, so there is no timeline to it. And even in Zaha Hadid's case, so when she started teaching at Harvard, after that, her style got got known to us. So if you don't have a style yet, don't worry about it. You will
Yeah.
get one soon. So yeah, just have your practice going on.
We got another question. This is related to internship. So Venu Gopal is asking us, can we do internship in BIM based firms? Because internships are having some rules, like we have to do it in an architectural firm which has 5 years of experience and is registered with COA.
So I'll tell
Yeah.
one thing over here. Like I just mentioned one thing over here. Now every college, like every college mentions their own specific rules that you need to have a firm which is having 5 years of an experience. Why? Because they want us to learn from that firm specifically. Now, even I searched for that rule, and when I found out there is no specific rule like that, but college mentioned that rule sometimes because they want us to be working with the architect who's experienced, who's having his firm from 5, 6 years, so that we get to learn more. Now, if there is a fresher architect who just opened his office and we're learning over there, so college will feel a bit hesitant that okay, will the student learn over there? Yes or not? Yeah. One thing, it has to be registered. So the architect has to be registered with COA. But 5 years rule thing, it depends thoroughly on the basis of experience and stuff. Yeah.
And yeah, also when it comes to these kind of rules, I feel like it's again the communication part is very important. When you're opening communication, speak to the university people who are there, and even if they do have, because sometimes if you speak to them and then they might be like, okay, fine, BIM, a company that works with BIM primarily may be fine as well, right? But like Tanmay mentioned, each university or each college has their own set of rules. I mean, we don't really have much of a choice, but we need to abide by those rules as well, right? So try and work with them, communicate with the college itself to see if it's possible to work with that. And if it's not, then you will have to move on and look for another company which is actually following those rules in terms of 5-year experience and COA registration.
Because at the
Also
end, the
focus on your
junior,
delivery.
yeah, you can talk something there.
Okay, so I was just saying, like, maybe focus on your deliverables. Like, let's say, even if you don't, let's say you don't end up, okay, getting in a firm whose categories don't kind of suffice your requirements. Okay, let's say you end up going to the BIM firm, but your deliverables will still kind of make sense, right? You learn stuff, so you learn the analysis part of Revit, you learn the how to use that software, and right? So that will be extremely helpful. So focus on your deliverables. Even if you don't suffice the requirement, how can you push through with your deliverables?
Exactly, guys. Because at the very end, the juror is going to come and he's going to see your portfolio. and he's going to see what work you have done within the 6 or 1 year of a duration. Okay. So he automatically understand, okay, even if the requirements are not, bear into the category, what he can do here is that whatever work you have done, you can publish that, you can show that. So it totally depends upon individual. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we can conclude the session. We've answered almost all of the questions. And if at all, guys, you have any more questions, you can anytime DM us on our Instagram page. Or right now as well, you can comment below in the comment section, and we will definitely try to reach out to you, help you out, maybe through DM, or we will solve them in the next live session. We'll come up with that soon. You can always give us suggestions as to what next topic should we hop onto for our next OSNAP live session. And I'd like to thank my co-speakers for today, Architect Tarun, Architect Samriddha, and Architect Tanmay. It indeed was a very insightful session, and I hope we solved all the doubts that we had received through all these messages. And this actually was one of the most requested sessions, okay, and it was long due, so I hope we did justice to that. And thank you guys. And one last thing that we had asked you guys to stay tuned for. So Lomos Archilabs now also lets you publish your architectural portfolios on our official website. Yes, this will help you increase your outreach, and you can start preparing or improving your portfolios, and you can mail them along with some basic information and a photograph to career@lomos.co.in. We will put it in the description box as well, and you can do that, and we will select them, and we'll be soon uploading them on our official website. So do check it out, guys, and make sure you make the most out of this.
Thanks, all guys.
So yeah,
Have a wonderful
Thank you
weekend.
for having us.
bye
Thank you
guys,
so
have
much,
a great
everyone.
Sunday. Bye bye.
Bye.